Good evening to you guys, and thank you for making time to come and to have this conversation with me. I'm Bishop Thomas, Marvin Frank Thomas, the presiding bishop of the Second Episcopal District, of which the churches you attend are part of it here in Indianapolis. And so we wanted to have conversations with some young persons between 12 and 23 who, either, as I said earlier, have accepted a call to ministry or feel that God is working on him or her. And so we wanted to just kind of sit down and just kind of talk about what that has been like for you, and what kind of brought you to that, and what have been your challenges, and what have been some of the wonderful experiences that you had. So let me get your names. Let me start with you.
My name is Shay Thompson.
Shay Thompson.
Yes,
Okay.
15 years old.
15 years old, and you're a member here at Trinity
Yes, sir.
Community Church.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Now, what grade are you?
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade. Okay. Your name?
Devon Party.
Devon Pardue?
Yes.
Okay, now how old are you, Devon?
13.
13. Now, you're a member of what church?
Womack.
Womack. Okay, Womack. And both churches are here in Indianapolis. Your pastor is?
Reverend Dr. O'Neal Shine Jr.
And your pastor is?
Reverend Henry L. Peterson.
Reverend Henry L. Peterson and Dr. O'Neal Shine. Okay. Did you, did both of you, did you grow up in Trinity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about you, Womack?
Yes.
Okay. So do you like going to church?
I like going to church.
You like it? Have you always liked going to church?
Be honest, not always, but I've gotten used to it because I always had to.
Okay. Okay. What about you? Do you like going to church?
Yes, I've always loved going to church.
Okay. I always love going to church. Okay. Okay. Now, Shay, my understanding is correct. You have already acknowledged a call to the ministry.
Yes, sir.
How long ago has that been?
Ever since last September.
Last September. Okay. When you acknowledged that your call to ministry, can you kind of describe what that was like coming to that decision? There was something going on with you that kind of led you to believe that God was calling you to the ministry?
Once when I was younger, I always look at Pastor Shine how he would do it, and every time at the church I would go home, I used to be in the choir, so they gave me a little choir robe, and I would preach myself animals, act like I was Pastor Shine.
Yes.
And that's when my mom and me knew that I was going to be, that's when she knew that I received the call.
Okay. So what was it like to kind of, did you just one Sunday did you tell Reverend Shine privately first, or did you just come before the congregation and then tell him, and that you told him that you wanted to do, that you felt called to the ministry, and he began to work with you? Or?
Once I've always looked at the picture of the wall of the pastors before him, and then he just happened to come out of his office. Then I said, at the talk, I told him that I would like to be a pastor, and maybe one day I'd like to become the pastor here at Trinity. And then he just started working with me.
Okay. Now that you, what did you do in the church before you became a minister?
We started having Children's Day services, and at the age of 10 years old, I spoke my first sermon.
What was that like to do that, your first sermon?
It felt pretty good. I was pretty nervous.
Have you answered a call to ministry at a place where you're kind of working on something, working with it, wrestling with it?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Do you have a desire to?
Yes, I want to become a minister.
You want to become a minister? Okay. So how long have you had that desire?
It's been a couple of months now.
Okay. So what brought that desire on, or that your own recognition of it?
It's just a lot of kids at Womack. They want to become ministers also. And one day we were all sitting in the room and we were talking about what we wanted for the future of our church. And a lot of us said we wanted to become ministers and evangelize to other people to bring them into the CMU church.
Okay. That's very good. That's very good. So how many others are there?
There's 3.
Okay. And what are their ages?
15 and 14.
Okay. Wow, I would love to have a conversation with them also. You think about, I mean, this is just, it just really warms my heart to see, you know, young persons who express a desire to be in the ministry. And I'm going to share with you my own story, how I became a minister. I cannot think of a time in my life when I did not think that I would be in ministry, that I would be a preacher. I mean, even as a little kid in my hometown, I grew up in a place called Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We had a community. The neighborhood we grew up in, it was called Cape Town. There were a number of families in that community, and there were a number of children, my age and younger and older. And some of the games we played was church. Now, I have to be honest with you, they were playing, but for me, I was serious. You know, I did as you did, Shay. I was in when I was in kindergarten. I graduated from kindergarten, and so they had so we graduated. They gave us a pink robe to graduate in. So I kept that robe, and I would preach in it. You know, I would preach in it, and sometimes with my brothers and my sister and the kids in the neighborhood, we would set up a church. I would always be the preacher. You know, I would we'd do everything. I had a little choir, and we would do communion. So everything that I grew up under primarily 2 preachers in my life. One was the one that baptized me was Reverend W.C. Larkin. I used to love about Reverend Larkin. I think the reason I sit like I sit now was because he would sit in the pulpit with his legs crossed. He had nice shoes on, and you could see his socks up under. He would wear a robe and everything. And so when we go to altar for prayer or for communion, you know, and then he was a very good preacher. So I kind of liked that. I would go home and I would preach his sermons. Then when I was at age 11, another guy came. His name was Reverend Willie Clyde Jones. He kind of took notice of me. And I remember the first time I told him that I wanted to be a preacher. I was coming out of the bathroom, he was coming in, and somehow we stopped long enough to have a conversation, and I think that's at that point that I told him. But I wasn't ready to acknowledge that I wanted to the church. I was just, you know, my mother knew, because, you know, even his sermons, I would go home and I would preach, and like my mother didn't go to church, everything that went on in church, I wrote it down on the bulletin. The scripture, the songs the choir sang, and the sermon. And sometimes I would go home and kind of reenact the sermon to her. And so at age 11, so from 11 on, from time to time, Reverend Jones would do certain things to let me know that he was trying to mentor me, to groom me for ministry. And then when I got to be a teenager, he started taking me with him when he would go and carry communion, or when he would go to the hospital and visit the sick. And when we had funerals at the church, I would always ride with him. So he just kind of showed me the whole gamut of things that a preacher, that a pastor would do. A lot of times on Sundays when he got ready for the morning prayer, he would call me. So I would have to come from the back of the church, come down, because we would have to pray at the altar, pray loud enough for everybody to hear us. And so sometimes, being a kid, teenager, sometimes I would be late going to church. I didn't want him to be calling on me, to pray. I mean, I knew God wanted me to be a preacher. I just didn't think I could stand before people. Growing a little older, we had a youth day, and I was in charge of youth day. And then one year I spoke, and I remember, I can't remember the speech, but the youth department of the church really helped me. They groomed me. Sunday school groomed me. Because then Reverend Jones started, talking to me about, what it means to be a minister and that kind of thing. And that was really, really, really helpful to me. And so, but from as far as I can remember, I finally got enough nerve, I guess, to begin to feel comfortable standing in front of people. Because I was just nervous. I was very shy and all of that. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. I just didn't think I could do this. And so I remember the Sunday that I finally decided that I was going to acknowledge my call to the congregation, because Reverend John had talked about it, and he said, whenever you're ready. He wasn't pressuring me. He said, whenever you're ready to acknowledge it to the church. By then I, acknowledged to him that I had been called, and he had me to read some of the call stories of the prophets in the Bible. If y'all ever had a chance to read the stories of, you get a chance to just read like each if you don't know where they are, just ask your pastor to kind of show you some of the call stories of prophets in the Bible, and just kind of read those. The thing you discover is that God calls us different ways. Your call is not the same as his. Yours not the same as mine. So the day that I acknowledged my call to the ministry, I was in college. I was a junior in college. I was going to Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And I had a cousin. My cousin we were the same age, and he had already acknowledged his call to preach. Every time my cousin would come to Tuscaloosa to preach, I would always go hear him. Wherever he went, I would go hear him. So this particular Sunday, I couldn't reach him, because this was before we had, y'all may not believe this, but there was a time we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't have cell phones, so we had to call from the landline. So I'm calling my cousin, can't get an answer. I knew where he was, but I didn't know the direction. We didn't have navigators and that kind of thing, so I didn't know exactly what the church was. And so since I said, well, since I can't go to hear my cousin, and I had worked all night at the post office, I said, well, I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to church today. I tried to go to, I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep. So I had to get up, I got dressed, and I went to church. And I was late for church. So I don't even know what Reverend Jones preached that day, but it seemed like when he got through preaching and opened the door of the church, something just took me up. And people said, even his son said it just recently, that I came running down the aisle hollering and carrying on. I don't remember that part. But I do remember crying, going down there, hugging him, and so he just asked me, he said, "Are you ready now?" And I told the church that I've been called to preach, and from then on, I've been in the pulpit, been a preacher, been to seminary. I've done all my adult life has been in the church. And I worked at colleges; they were Christian colleges, and so. Pastor churches, been a presiding elder, now I'm a bishop, and I think that I wouldn't trade it in for nothing, and God has been a blessing to my life. God has blessed my life, and I think my ministry has been a blessing to people. I've been blessed in ministry by people, and so I just pray that God will bless both of you, and that you will continue to walk this path, and it's a noble calling, and the thing I would encourage you to do is to think about as you going through school, and you don't have to be old men preachers. Just be yourselves, and just be yourself. Don't try to be perfect, just try to be you, and the rest of it will take care of itself. Shay and Devon.
Yes.
I really appreciate you guys taking time out to come at the call of the elder and your pastor to come and have a conversation. So what do you do now in the church?
When we do the altar call, I do pray for other people, and for communion, I don't do communion, but I say the things as pastors would say for communion, take the bread, eat it.
So what do you do at Womack?
I'm the secretary of our CYF group,
Okay.
and so, and I'm also the president of the usher board.
Okay. Well, will you be attending the National Youth Young Adult Conference?
Yes, sir.
You?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So well, I look forward to seeing y'all in Memphis, and there may be an opportunity or call for all young persons who either, acknowledge a call or expressing a call, and hopefully you guys will go, and so that, maybe the College of Bishops will just, share our stories with you and just kind of talk to you and encourage you, because we want to see our church grow and thrive, and we know that God is calling and raising up young men and young women for ministry. And so I just appreciate the two of you for taking time to come and to have this conversation, and for acknowledging your call, and for acknowledging that there is a call in your life and that you're working toward that. And